Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor. Board of Commissioners public meeting Tuesday, October 6, 2015. The time is now 7:34. Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, notice of this meeting was published in the December 11, 2014 issues of the Nutley Sun, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. A copy of this notice has been posted on the Nutley Town Hall Bulletin Board, and a copy is on file in the Municipal Clerk's office. Commissioner Rogers?
Here.
Commissioner Tucci?
Here.
Commissioner Evans?
Here.
Commissioner Scarpelli?
Here.
Mayor Petracco?
Here.
All present, Mayor.
Thank you. We're going to get right down to our presentation and not bore you with our business part of the meeting this evening. I'm going to turn it over to our council for introductions, if we may.
Gentlemen, you want to come sit down so you can observe the presentation? And with the Hackensack Seton Hall people, please join us up here. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I would like to thank the public for attending tonight's presentation by Hackensack University Medical Center and Seton Hall University. Since June of 2012, when the Nutley officials first learned of Roche's plan to close the facility, the Board of Commissioners have committed to work with Roche and the City of Clifton to transition the present facility to a new development that will have a positive impact for our taxpayers and improve the quality of life of our residents. Obviously, and as we addressed to you in a prior presentation in 2014, our first priority would be to attract a large pharmaceutical company to replace Roche so that there would be a seamless transition to our community. After consulting with experts, that scenario became less and less possible, and the strong probability that the site would remain vacant for many years to come. The Board of Commissioners recognized the challenges that existed in balancing those issues, and they shared with Roche the concerns expressed by our residents both publicly and privately. Tonight, we would like to present to you two entities well known to our community, Hackensack University Medical Center and Seton Hall University, about their exciting and historic plans to start a medical school and research facility on a 13-acre property on the Roche site, of which 11 acres are in Nutley. Let me introduce who is here tonight. We are pleased to welcome Robert Garrett, President and CEO of Hackensack University Health Network. Robert, welcome. Robert Glenning, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Hackensack University Medical Center. Jose Lozano, Chief of Staff and Vice President of Hackensack University Medical Center. Jose. We have Kevin DeSimone. Is Kevin here? Kevin DeSimone, Vice President of Government Affairs. And Dr. Jeff Boskamp, Vice President of Academic Affairs, who we've got to meet many times over several meetings. Right, Doctor? Welcome. On behalf of Seton Hall, we are equally pleased to welcome Eric Lilquist, who is the Associate Provost for Academic Projects, and Dan Kalmanson, Associate Vice President of Public Affairs and Marketing. Welcome. Tonight you will hear from representatives of both organizations about their vision for the site and what the future would look like right here in Nutley. And we're going to call this Phase 1. Before we turn the floor over to Hackensack and Seton Hall, I would like to welcome Dan Laughlin of James Lang LaSalle, an internationally known real estate broker that was retained by Hoffman LaRoche to repurpose the 118-acre site, which formerly contains Roche's headquarters. Once we hear from all presenters, we will open up the floor for questions. We know that you will have questions about what happens beyond Phase 1, and we promise you that there is more to come. Tonight, we would like to focus on Phase 1, the medical school and research facility, and answer as many of your questions as we can. At this time, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Dan Laughlin, International Director of James Lang LaSalle. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. That's Jones Lang.
I'm sorry.
We go by JLL now. Thank you. Good evening. I've been kind of a market overview and up on the status of a number of pharmaceutical large research and development campuses in the region that have been, vacated by their primary users and have been put on the market for sale. And I want to go through that with you just to give you kind of a sense of where the market is. Me? All right, so over the last 5 or 10 years, there's been a significant exodus of big pharma, research operations from the metropolitan New York area. These examples of this are recently, large vacated research campuses, Roche, Nutley, and Clifton being one. Some of the specific challenges of these sites are they're big, large central utility plant driven utility infrastructure. They're really designed for a single occupant and a single user. And research for these companies has changed. They're now sort of decentralizing their research where they're putting, innovation centers and research centers in Seattle, La Jolla, California, Cambridge, Massachusetts, where you see a lot of the innovation and discovery uses being transitioned to. Some of the experience we've had and some of the active requirements, the former Santa Fe campus in Bridgewater, New Jersey, 110 acres, 1.2 million square feet. The former North American Research Headquarters for Santa Fe Aventis. This property we sold to a venture called Advanced Cross Harbor. They basically took the rear section of the property, which was all research buildings, and we were able to successfully multi-tenant those buildings. And we needed an accommodation for Bridgewater Township because the property was originally zoned for a single occupant. We were successful in getting Ashland Chemical, Amneal Pharmaceutical, and then today we signed a lease with Nestle Nutritional Health Sciences for about 200,000 square feet. So this 1.2 million square foot campus is probably going to have 5 or 6 different occupants, and then the front 40 acres of it will contain a mixed-use development of some multifamily housing, retail, and hotels. The former Merck Summit campus. This is, 90 acres and 1.5 million square feet in 13 buildings in Summit, New Jersey. This is the former, it went back to Ciba-Geigy, Shearing Plow, and then Merck. Just kind of gives you a sense of the consolidation of the big pharma industry as well. That property is under contract, and it was announced maybe a month or so ago. Celgene is going to buy that property, but they're going to use a portion of it. There's a research building known as S7 in the back, which is their primary interest, and then some of these office buildings in the front will likely be repurposed to third-party occupants. The other campus, Merck, is in Union, across from Kean University. This is a 55-acre parcel, 1.2 million square feet of pilot plant and scaled manufacturing and research. That property was shut down by Merck about 3 years ago. That property is under contract with a company that does a lot of business in this area, Redevelopment, and they plan to demolish everything on that property and make that into a mixed-use site. There's a New Jersey Transit line right at the property, a station, and then Kean University across the street. So they're going to develop kind of a complementary, collaborative, mixed-use development with the college and use the urban transit access on the property. The former Lucent Homedale campus, known as Bell Labs at one time, this property has been on the market for close to 10 years. It was purchased recently by a company called Somerset Development, Ralph Zucker's company. He has taken parcels of this property and has rezoned some of it for residential use, but he's also taken the existing building and kind of repositioning it, repurposing it to make it both office, healthcare, hotel, and some other uses. But the property is about 80% vacant. The Pfizer Pearl River facility just over the state line in Pearl River is almost 2 million square feet, of which, and on 500 acres, 500 Pfizer is going to retain about 600,000 square feet on that site. The rest of it they've sold to a company called IRG, a gentleman by the name of Stu Lichter, who is really an expert in taking sort of antiquated facilities and converting them and repositioning them for multi-tenanted communities. So, I mean, some of the keys to these properties and their successful disposition and redevelopment is really, we found there, out of all these properties that we've been marketing for a period of 5 years, there's really no single user in the market that's looking for 2 million square feet or 1.5 million square feet. Celgene is a little bit of a, I call that a little bit of a nuance, because this Merck property was right next to their headquarters in Summit, New Jersey. They have a lot of lease facilities around the area, and they were able to consolidate some of their lease facilities onto this campus. And again, as I mentioned, they're not planning to use the entire campus. But I think what's driving the redevelopment and the value of these properties is recognizing that it's not a single user campus anymore. You have to be open to subdividing it or making it into other mixed uses or leveraging what the demand in the marketplace is now to drive value on the property. In the case of Sanofi, we had a couple of key users, Ashland Chemical and Amneal Pharmaceutical, and now Nestle. They really drove the development of that site and the value of it, as I think Hackensack and Seton Hall will do here. The other thing that you need to recognize is these central utility plants are significant infrastructure, and there's a lot of value there that you can leverage as you kind of think about your redevelopment. And some of the stronger users, want that kind of utility infrastructure to support their operations. So HUMC Seton Hall at the former Roche Nutley campus. Their interest in occupying the major building on the campus, 123 and 123A, is really, it's a 470,000 square foot R&D building. Very difficult to find a user for that building. This is a unique opportunity for them to occupy this, what would otherwise be a rather difficult building to find a tenant for. They're an economic driver. They're going to be the economic driver for a lot of collaborative and other kind of uses for the property. They will drive, hotel and hospitality. Will drive some market-based, non-dormitory residential uses. Will drive neighborhood retail. There's bus transportation at the site. There's a real demand in the market for attracting millennials. My kids coming out of school, they all want to live in a city or a mixed-use community. They don't want to live out in the suburbs like I do. And then again, you have Route 3, and you have bus mass transportation there. So I think the site is primed for this type of redevelopment consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And any questions to Dan we're going to go through all the presentations first, and then we'll address questions at the same time. It's my pleasure to welcome to Nutley the President and CEO of Hackensack University Health Network, Robert Garrett. Robert.
Thank you. It's good to be in Nutley. I appreciate the invitation tonight from the Board of Commissioners, and I'm very happy on behalf of Hackensack University Health Network and Seton present to all of you what we believe is an exciting project, but a historic project. Seton Hall University and Hackensack University Health Network have entered into a historic partnership to create a new school of medicine. Both organizations, long-standing roots in this area in New Jersey. We've been in the area for over 100 years, and we're really really excited about this project for the area and for the state of New Jersey. We think that creating a new school of medicine in the state of New Jersey, in Nutley and in Clifton, will be historic. It will be a game changer, not just for our two organizations, but will be a game changer for Nutley, Clifton, and for our entire state. Our intention is to create a 4-year school of medicine. It will be New Jersey's only private medical school. It will be a not-for-profit private medical school. And I'm going to go into the reasons why we think it's important and why there's a need for a new medical school in our region, in our area. Okay, so, people ask all the time, why a new school of medicine? I think there's a few reasons. Number one, there's a physician shortage here in this area, in our state, and across the nation. And with the Affordable Care Act being rolled out, Obamacare, it's really growing more and more acute. Seton Hall's mission is for academic excellence, and we believe we can create a school that really fulfills that mission. We also believe that we can attract cutting-edge scientists and researchers that really are going to be doing some cutting-edge research, complement the School of Medicine significantly. And the last reason for the School of Medicine is we think it's going to be a major for the region. Just to give you an example, when the School of Medicine would start jobs. In the first year of operation, we'll create a permanent job as the school grows as well. And think about it, when how many jobs left with that company relocating. So we're not going to be able from day one to recreate all of those jobs, but we're certainly going to get a good, healthy start. So this slide really talks about the physician shortage, and that illustrates what it's going to be like nationally. Many studies have been done, and there's good evidence to indicate that we're going to be at least 130,000 physicians short in the nation. Many of those physicians that are going to be in short supply are primary care physicians, which are sorely needed in our area up here in northern New Jersey. There's also specialists that are in short supply, like general surgeons, OB/GYN physicians, and pediatricians and pediatric subspecialists. So our school will be focused on trying to recruit and retain those types of physicians that are in short supply. This next slide really brings it home to New Jersey. So I mentioned about 130,000 physicians that were short in the nation, and in New Jersey, almost 3,000 physicians will be needed by the year 2020, again, in some of those specialties that I just spoke about. This slide really indicates that where physicians are trained, they're more likely to practice medicine. If a doctor, a student I should say, studies medicine outside of the state of New Jersey, they are twice as likely to set up practice. Jersey. We are losing talent from our own state. Maybe there's, you all know relatives or friends who have gone to medical school. They're going to medical school in droves out of the state and actually offshore. So there's a real need for a new medical school to really keep those students in state, because they will be twice as likely to stay here and set up their practice and really serve our communities very, very well. This slide talks a little bit about the excellence that Hackensack University Medical Center is known for. There's a lot of awards that our team has received over the years. And, the takeaway message here is we're focused on quality. U.S. News & World Report has ranked Hackensack as the #1 hospital in the state of New Jersey. For many, many years, we're ranked amongst the top 50 consistently in the nation, and that pursuit of excellence, that focus on quality, will be a major objective in creating a new school of medicine. This slide really indicates that if you look at U.S. News and World Report, they have what they call the honor roll, and these are the top 14 or 15 hospitals or health. Each of them has their own medical school. So one of the objectives for Hackensack University Medical Center is to get on this honor roll list. Reason why we want to start a new school of medicine, because each of these hospitals, their major characteristic is that they have their own school of medicine. We don't at Hackensack, and we think we can certainly move from that top 50 to the top 10 or 15 in the entire nation by creating our own school of medicine. Seton Hall University also is very well renowned in New Jersey and actually across the nation for excellence, for a focus on quality. They are ranked very, very high in U.S. News and World Report, and the ranking continues to get better and better. I think Seton Hall is one of the top colleges in the entire nation. Recognizes Seton Hall for being one of the most affordable universities of any university in the nation. So Seton Hall itself is very distinguished by a lot of awards, and I think with their focus on quality and Hackensack's focus on quality, we really formed a very, very strong venture for the right reasons. So it's one thing to form New Jersey's only private medical school. That's historic in of itself. But to focused on a very innovative curriculum at this new medical school. So with the vision of Seton Hall University, there is a plan to relocate nurse and allied health school in the Roche campus and integrate those schools within the School of Medicine. And some of those schools, as I mentioned a minute ago, include the College of Nursing, allied health schools like medical sciences, physical therapy, athletic training, occupational therapy, speech and language pathology, master's programs in health administration, PhD programs in health sciences as well. Medical students are educated in one silo, educated in another silo. Some of these other health professionals are educated in their own silos. Out of school, they have to function as a team. Healthcare is a team sport. When they're in a hospital or they're in an ambulatory care setting, they got to function as a team. So we're going to do something that I believe has not been done really anywhere in the nation. We're going to create a real integrated program where all of these health professionals will be educated and trained together so they will be functioning as a team. And that's the way healthcare delivery is going in the future. So we're going to really give them a head start on that team approach. So this slide talks about the future of medical education and talks about the integration and training of multi-disciplines in a single classroom setting. All of those disciplines, medical students, nursing students, and some of those other allied health students. Our design in the new, on the new campus at Hoffman-La Roche will reflect this new curriculum, this innovation in the way that medical students are educated. You can see on the top part of that slide, there's what we call a learning studio. Students are going to be taught not in large auditoriums, but in small classroom settings around a round table. And that's really the state of the art in terms of how medical students' education will be delivered in the future. Then on the bottom, there's a skills lab, which is really, many people call that a simulation lab, where a simulation will occur that really mirrors what happens in a healthcare setting, like in a hospital setting. And students will be able to really learn. There'll be ICU beds, there'll be operating room tables actually right on the campus so that they can learn in a simulation setting. This is the lobby of the building 123 that was spoken about earlier on the Hoffman-La Roche campus. It's a beautiful lobby. It makes for a spectacular entranceway. There's a 6-story atrium in the lobby, and we intend to do some renovations there, but we're going to take advantage of what was a beautiful building. I have to say that the Hoffman-La Roche company poured literally tens of millions of dollars into this campus before they abandoned it. So we intend to use much of it as is. We're going to do some renovations, obviously, to really make it come alive as a medical school, as an academic setting. But as an example, the research laboratories, we're going to be able to move in pretty much as is. There'll be some renovations up there, but we'll be able to use a lot of those research laboratories as they exist today. This was the auditorium off the lobby. Some of the Board of Commissioners were present back in January when the governor was there and some of the other elected officials addressed the crowd for that historic announcement. And I always smile when I see this slide because our colleagues at Hoffman LaRoche were really smiling from ear to ear that day when they were in this room. And the reason for that is that, believe it or not, and this just shows how state-of-the-art these facilities are, believe it or not, that press conference that day in January was the first time that room was actually used. So it was built, it was renovated, and it was never used until we announced this new School of Medicine. So it just gives you an idea of the state-of-the-art facilities. This is a library, and when I first saw this picture, I don't know about what you guys are all for the books. There are no books. It's all digital. And this is the library of the future, and it's a rendering of what the library is going to look like at this new School of Medicine. This is a common gathering area. I talked about that team spirit before, and the fact that we're going to be training these disciplines all together. We also want them to be able to share their experiences, socialize. We're going to create where they all can gather together to share their experiences. This is an entranceway to the faculty suite. I don't know how the faculty offices look today, but I tell you what, if I was a faculty, I'd kind of like the way this looks. It's pretty attractive. There's going to be some great offices for faculty meetings. Before I get to that, though, I'm going to introduce a video. It's just a short video that we're going to show that really summarizes our goals, our vision in this School of Medicine. We've actually showing it to potential donors. So I don't know if anybody has their checkbook with them tonight, but we're accepting all donations, of course. But take a look at the video because I think you'll really find that it really does a good job in summarizing what our vision is for this very historic School of Medicine. of students. I don't see any checkbooks out yet. But I hope that gave you a little idea of our vision and where we're going here. And I just want to conclude by giving you a little bit of our projected timeline and what's been accomplished so far. So Hackensack and Seton Hall signed a definitive agreement to form our partnership, and that was signed in June. You know, we're going through a series of events now, including recruiting a new founding dean for the medical school. That founding dean will recruit faculty. That founding dean will put together this innovative, creative curriculum that I spoke about a few minutes ago. We're coming for you this evening. We're going to be coming before the folks in Clifton as well. We hope, if all goes well, that we'll be able to start the construction of the new building in January, or at least in the first quarter of 2016. And we also have to go through a parallel process to get the medical school accredited, and that's one of the major responsibilities of the founding dean as well. We have to go through an accrediting body called the LCME, which is the Liaison Committee for Medical Education, and that's a division of the Association. So there's a lot of moving parts in terms of the approval process, but as we said in the video, if all goes well, we'll start the first programs on the campus in the fall of 2017. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview. We are incredibly excited about this project. We have the opportunity to really create a first-rate school of medicine and something that really will be a game changer, I think, for this town, for the region, and for the state of New Jersey. So I thank you very, very much.
Apologize for the microphone. That's really the presentation. Eric, you're here to from Seton Hall. Eric Liquis from the provost is going to answer any questions that you might have. Is there anything you want to say, Eric, or just handle questions? Bob, if I may start with a question. I know it was addressed a little bit in the video, but maybe a little bit more about the research goals of the group, and maybe you can talk about that.
So in terms of research, the idea is that about, and I think it was described before, that the two buildings, 123 and 123A, will be almost 500,000 square feet. Our anticipation is about 60% of that space will be for academics and about 40% for research. We are not, and I talked about it in the video, about relocating existing research from the main campus at Hackensack University Medical Center, where we're doing some exciting research in cancer, in cardiac disease, pulmonary infectious disease, and other specialties. We're also in the process of speaking to some very exciting researchers that are seriously considering relocating their research to this Hoffman-LaRoche campus. They're excited because the labs are state-of-the-art. They're excited because of its location and its proximity to the metropolitan area. And they're excited, frankly, in affiliating with Seton Hall and with Hackensack. So we expect that we will fill that 40% of the building, which will be about 200,000 square feet of real state-of-the-art research. I mentioned in the video, too, a regenerative medicine institute, and that's something that we're looking to develop. We're out there actually trying to raise money to start that. I mean, that could literally change the face of medicine by, if it was successful, really wiping out a lot of chronic diseases that inflict all of us today. So we could really be seeing some groundbreaking, historic, exciting research on this campus at Hoffman-LaRoche.
One other question I had has been discussed in other meetings is in terms of the people that will be working here, in terms of the income levels and the effect it may have on the economics of the municipalities, Clifton and Nutley. Can you address that a little bit also?
The economic impact you're speaking of?
The economic impact.
Yeah, so there's a few things. I mentioned a little bit about the jobs that will be created with the School of Medicine. There'll be temporary jobs. In terms of construction, there'll be permanent jobs, professional jobs, clerical jobs. But you know what? When the studies will show wherever there's a vibrant healthcare system, a university, and in particular a medical school, it provides a huge economic stimulus to the area, because you're going to have faculty, you're going to have students. As a matter of fact, just from year one with the medical school and with the health schools, the allied health schools and the College of Nursing, we're expecting to have 2,500 students on that campus. So it'll be very, very vibrant. And think about it, they'll be utilizing facilities throughout Nutley, throughout Clifton, throughout the entire region that really will provide a great economic stimulus. So it's not just about the jobs that are going to be created, it's about the economics, the stimulus that it creates by having a vibrant campus. And don't forget, our project, which will serve as the anchor tenant on the redevelopment of the entire property, hopefully will attract other tenants to the property that will also provide an economic stimulus to this community.
So this part of the program, what I'd like to do is we'll move the microphone to the center. Please come up, just state your name and address a question to me, and I'll forward it to the appropriate person so we can start that.
Hi, my name is Brian Murphy. I'm a Nutley resident, past 15 years, and what you really brought to light to me is that there's going to be a lot of moving parts, a lot of organizations that's going to require a lot of coordination, and like you said, there's going to be a lot of jobs created, a lot of commercial opportunities, and I was thinking that maybe the best way of communicating is through like a central website where you have the different pieces, and you could say, okay, we need contractors to do this. We need, we're opening this. We're, maybe send some lunch trucks in or something like that. Where people can see both the progress and the opportunities right there in front of them. Because, like most people, like I would not know of anything unless I come to a place like this and find out.
Brian, that's a great point. I think that's a great suggestion. We'll endeavor to do that. I think that kind of information would be very, very powerful, and people can really track the progress. So we'll talk amongst ourselves and see if we can't pull that together.
All right, great.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Alan Thomas. I'm a Nutley resident. Longer than Brian has been, which is amazing. Thank you all for coming. We're very honored to have you all here. I have two questions. One, many of us are concerned about the tax impact that the school itself will have. I mean, are you going to buy the property, make it non-tax exempt, we assume, or are you going to be leasing the property? What will that do to the taxes? And the second thing, and I mean this most humbly, so what do you need from us to get this going?
Let's take the second question first, right? Yeah.
I thought that would be the easier one.
That is, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Because not a lot has been in public, it looks like nothing's been going on behind the scenes, and that's absolutely not true. We have had, in all the commissioners, their respective departments and JRC meetings and financial meetings, have been working behind the scenes with most of these gentlemen and their consultants and our consultants. We have a planner. We have a financial advisor. We have special development counsel. We have a person reviewing the master plan. And there's a series of events that are going to take place very shortly, and the commissioners may be entertaining certain voting to move this forward. So what we need is support. I think that's what you're going to say. For the idea, this plan is not going to solve the economic deficit when Hoffman LaRoche left. It's just not going to do it. I think, Dan can speak to that. What we are attempting to do, if I may speak for the commissioners, is to replace those ratables as best we can. And what the purpose of this project is, or at least hopefully the result, and it's not just based on a whim, we have informational data that we're basing it on, that this is going to drive companies to come and fill the other buildings. This is only building 123 and 123A. That's all the medical school is going to be. Building 1, Building 76, Building 102 are empty and ready for tenants. And based on our discussions with Roche and the potential developers, they have very, very strong prospective tenants ready to take those spaces that will work in conjunction with the medical school in terms of medical science. And that's very exciting, and I think we're going to be excited, and you're going to be hopefully excited to see that. So from a tax perspective, Alan, we'll have a financial arrangement ultimately, gentlemen and their organizations. Ultimately, we seek to have it as one giant engine to create more ratables. So that's the best we can answer it. We're still working on the numbers, and hopefully very shortly you'll get more information, especially when we move to phase 2 of the project, which is the rest of the site. Can you come up, sir?
My name is Dave Ingrassi. I live in town. Thank you guys for coming. Basically, you're telling us that there's not going to be any property taxes collected from the medical center. Is that what you're telling us?
That's not what I'm saying. There are different types of funding methods. There's regular tax collection. There's pilots. There's RAB bonds. There are different types of things that can help fund these type of developments. We are working on a financial arrangement with these groups that would pay taxes. So that's part of the answer. We've successfully gotten money from the state to help with the transition since Roche has left, and we're working on that as a continuous issue also. The goal of the commissioners have no effect, ultimately, on the tax base. That's the goal. And, if it all works, and we think it can, we'll probably get there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Carrie Tyerman, resident of Nutley for 22 years now. I'm wondering, the campus, the redevelopment of it, is it going to be an open campus for our community, or is it going to be closed off as such as Roche was?
It's going to be an open campus. There's going to be most likely new roads created, new buildings created, some retail, some mixed, some residential. We're not really sure yet. We're still working on that. But yes, it will be not a closed-off campus like it was in the past. Depending on who's going to be responsible for what properties, that may have some effect on the roads. But for the most part, it will be open. It will be a different type of campus.
Little backwoods. My name is Patrick Lavero. I'm a town resident for 50 years. who owns this property, Hoffman or Roche? Or is Seton Hall, like you buy a house, did they put a down payment yet in Hackensack? Or this is only talk that could fall down in the pit?
That's a great question.
Where do we stand?
Hoffman LaRoche owns the property. Right now, they own the property. Legally, that's the position. Ultimately, they will provide a lease to these gentlemen. They will lease the property from Hoffman LaRoche, and ultimately, Hoffman LaRoche will sell the property to a developer who will then be responsible for maintaining the buildings and having a relationship with these people. You want to expound on that?
You said it very well. I think that's the sequence and the process. And so right now, as was just stated, Hoffman LaRoche currently owns the property.
So in other words, do you have blueprints and everything else on these buildings?
We do. We've done a lot of work, and we work very closely with the leaders from Nutley. We work very closely with the folks from Hoffman LaRoche, the potential developer that we've also been meeting with. So a lot of hard work's been happening behind the scenes, and hopefully it's all gonna come together really over the next few months.
Hi, Alex Rubens. I'm a 40-year resident of Nutley. And my question is about the development of the property itself. You alluded, the real estate market fellow alluded to the millennials want to have a campus, environment for them to live. And the development of a mixed residential and work, looks like they're building their own little town within that property, between Kingsland and Route 3. And there's a 2-mile square town around it that is, in need of, it's like more revitalization, to let that spread out. How can we get them into, the rest of the community, rather than stay in their little crucible that they're looking to make?
Oh, well, there we go. If you remember last year, I don't know if you came to the presentation of the Perkins Eastman plan.
Yeah,
that really was a development of the whole site. Okay, picture that now with the middle is probably something that we're going to end up with. One of the big discussions that the commissioners are having with everyone else is how to integrate the site with Franklin Avenue with the rest of the town. Walking paths, bike paths. There's a connection with the park to Franklin Avenue from that site. So yes, there will be some work, I'm sure, on the property, but the goal is to integrate with the township, with the downtown, and help revitalize that particular area also. We don't know exactly yet. We're still working. We have to work with the developer to come up with the final plan, and then you will see it because it will be here up there, and you'll get a chance to see it before it's ever approved by the commissioners. Tony Iannarone, 60 years, Tony? What is it?
56.
All right.
And I'm also former Associate General Counsel and Associate Vice President at Roche. I'd like to get a little more clarification on the payments. Obviously, as long as Roche owns the property and is leasing it, they're liable for the taxes. If and when the new organization buys it, they apparently would be tax exempt. I'm wondering then if there would be some sort of payment in lieu of taxes, such as Princeton does with the municipality there.
Unfortunately, Tony's an attorney. He knows this stuff better than most of us. So thank you, Tony. But no, you're right. I mean, it's going to be a pilot agreement with the school. Roche does owe the taxes now, but unfortunately, because of all the buildings that have come down and the lower assessment of the property, that's what's lowered the taxes. Commissioner Evans and the other commissioners have been able to get aid from the state to make up that difference. Our goal is to build that number back up so that with the pilot and with all the other ratables that will come online, we'll be okay. And that's the goal. And the numbers, I don't want to say they look positive, but it's Not a doomsday scenario.
It'll work out.
It's not a doomsday scenario. It'll work out.
Yeah. Just a couple other questions. I noticed in your presentation that you were not planning to provide residential space on your own, that you were going to rely on third parties. Your schedule would bring students and faculty in less than 2 years. Do you have any plans for getting that done?
So as, and Eric might want to comment on this, it's our understanding that, medical students in particular don't require dormitory type of housing. They tend to want to live in garden-style types of apartments, and I think that's probably what will be planned for the site, or they'll look in the local area to see what would be available. But yeah, it's an aggressive timeline, but one that we're very, very focused on, and one that we think we can achieve. And it may be phased in over a period of months or a year, but we're focused, and we're going to get it done in 2017.
I have about 50 questions, but I'll just ask one more. Just one.
Eric, did you want to further comment on that?
Just one last question then. To be a truly ranked national medical school, I think it requires having students other than from New Jersey. I would see you'd give preference to New Jersey students, but what would you see as an ideal ratio of in-state and out-of-state medical students at your school?
I mean, I think there should be a healthy mix, but I'm gonna ask the experts. I'm gonna ask maybe Dr. Boskamp, and Eric might want to comment on this one as well. What they would see as a healthy mix from my perspective. I think it be a true mix of New Jersey residents, because as I said in my presentation, there's a talent drain leaving the state, so we want to obviously give some priority there. But honestly, we also want to attract the best of the best, because as I said in the presentation, where students go to school, that's where they tend to practice. So we want to be able to really make this a first-rate, a top-tier, excellent school of medicine, which I believe with Seton Hall's reputation and Hackensack's reputation, we can. Jeff, would you want to comment a little more?
So I think you said it exactly right, Bob. I mean, we want to basically reverse the drain. While we would love to have New Jersey, we are still going to be looking for the best and the brightest. And that pool is out there, and we think that with the exciting curriculum that Bob talked about, the fact that we're going to take this interprofessional education that's never been done successfully across the country, the way that we're talking in this building is extremely schools of allied health and medical schools, tried to train them together. But they've never done it in one building where there's cultures. And we think this building gives an opportunity to do that. It's never been seen. So we think, excuse me, we think when we roll that out, that, and students see this along with the innovation that we're going to do, standard medical school curriculum, not get carried away, because I'm just so excited about what's going to happen. We've always done a 2-2 curriculum, so for 2 years, study basics, very little patient.
Where would they do that? At Mountainside and Hackensack? Would that be where they do their clinical work?
Down here. We're not going to just be in muscle is. We're going to have our world-class surgeons with those medical telling them about how this is surgical. Everything we're going to teach across 4 years. Don't just memorize things. Understand why. That's going to be a curriculum. Why students want to come to this.
Just one, how many students do you anticipate when you're fully operative with 4 years?
There'll be 2,500 students, including the nursing school and the allied health schools. In the School of Medicine, there'll be 125 students per class, so about 500 students total. And Tony, I just want to echo what Dr. Boskamp said. And Hackensack University Medical Center, being the flagship hospital, being the academic medical center, will serve as a major teaching site, and that's what makes this campus, this Hoffman-LaRoche campus, so attractive because of its location. Think about it; it's halfway situated between Seton Hall University and Hackensack University Medical Center. It could not be located more perfectly. Students will train in all 11 hospitals of what's going to become Hackensack Meridian Health, but Hackensack University Medical Center will be the major training site.
I asked about Mountside because that's part of Hackensack.
Mountside is part of Hackensack, yes.
So it's about 10 miles to each.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll reserve my other 50 questions for another time.
We will use that talent to be a part of this as well.
Hello, my name is Penny Landry, and I'm a new Nutleyite. I've lived here 6 years. First, I applaud your courage and your vision and what you're about as far as innovative education. I'm from a medical family, so I appreciate what you're up to. My first question is, what is the average age in the U.S. of a medical student?
So basically,
I know that, yeah. Mm-hmm. And what would that age be, the average age of a medical student? Okay, 22 to 26, and what about a nursing student? It could be over, correct? And what? Okay, 20s to 30s, correct? You would say
they're not in their 30s.
Okay.
Right.
What
Generally.
percentage of them are married?
On entry, very few.
Very few.
Right.
Do you have any statistics, real numbers to support that?
It really depends. I think schools
and how long is the curriculum? Is it a 4 year, 6 year, 4 years? So let's say you start at 27, you graduate, you become a doctor when you're 30, maybe?
No, you become a doctor when you're 26.
26?
Mm-hmm.
Where does the intern process take place?
That does not happen on this campus.
Okay.
That takes place
All right.
in
So you're
hospitals.
saying that you're going to be graduating people as doctors when they're 27, 28, but you don't have any idea about how many of them are married?
No, I mean...
Okay. The reason for my question is you're anticipating 2,500 students.
I just want to add that there may be a small percentage that are married, but we're going to have a chapel on campus, so there may be a lot more. I don't know.
Okay, good. The reason for my question is that you're going to have 2,500 students, and there are going to be children that come along with some of these students. Okay? We have an overcrowded K through 12 school situation right now. 2,500 people, let's just say a third of them have children. They're not going to want to live very far from where they're in school. So my question is there any part of this plan that addresses the overcrowding in our K through 12 schools that we currently have? Because I'm excited about all the new people moving to Nutley. I'm also concerned that we have children going to school in trailers right now. Okay. Okay, which brings me to my next question. What about your faculty? What's the average age of the faculty, and are they married, and do they have children?
Well, university faculty married and do have children. I'll say that the vast majority of faculty do not live in South Orange.
South Orange?
Yeah.
Okay.
The main university is in South Orange. Small number, but a low percentage actually live in South Orange.
Okay. So the issue of potential residents living in Nutley impacting the school system, you know, as it relates to the school, has not been addressed. Okay, thanks. Can I ask one more? Or Alan, do you have a?
Let me just add we hope they come and move to Nutley.
I do too.
We hope they do, so thank you. Go ahead, Penny.
Nutley authorized a $17,500 contract with the Banker Group, correct? To review the financial impact to Nutley of the Roche campus redevelopment. Has the review been completed?
No,
No, it's still under review.
currently.
Do you anticipate a date by which the review for the $17,500 contract will be available?
Very, very soon.
Very, very soon.
I
Okay.
would be more specific if I could, but
I know.
very soon, within
Okay.
the next 2 to 4 weeks, let's say that.
Got it, Alan. Okay. The two buildings proposed for the hospital, currently 23A, 23B, the two beautiful buildings.
123A,
Okay.
123B.
Are you currently in the lease negotiations with Roche, or do you have a lease?
Based on our meetings with both Bob's Group and Hoffman LaRoche, they have negotiated the terms of a lease. Obviously,
They have negotiated the terms
Right.
of a lease.
Correct.
Thank
As
you.
far as we are told, they have, and it's part of the whole process of evaluation of the finances of the site. That will be announced at some point, I assume, when they do sign the lease. This is kind of like a domino effect, okay? They need to get approvals from the towns to rezone the property, which will set in motion a series of other events leading to ultimately the full development of the site. So this is like step one, even though we've been going through a lot of steps in the last couple of years. This is like step one. If this goes through, then everything hopefully will just fall right into place.
Okay, so you actually are in lease negotiations, and you may or may not have a lease. Okay. I have a couple of questions about tuition.
You said one more question before.
I'm sorry, Alan. I'll sit down.
We'll give somebody else a chance, and then you could always
Okay.
come back on.
All right, I'll
Hi, my name's John Simcoe. I'm the director of the Nutley Museum, so this is a little bit of a history question. And it's interesting, as I'm looking at the mural behind you, Annie Oakley is sitting there seemingly guarding the Historical Society, the building directly behind her. And I don't know if the piece of property fits into exactly where you guys would be, and this is more a discussion I'd like to have in the future with you, with the commissioners, especially with Commissioner Tucci and the mayor. There is a piece of property that is just south of the South Gate, the first entrance that you get to if you're heading north on Kingsland Avenue, that is still a grassy plot, so nothing's been built on it yet, and it's probably within 100 feet, if not on the very spot that a circus that Annie Oakley had put together to get together a Red Cross, a nice medical connection, a Red Cross chapter in Nutley. There was an amateur circus that Clara Barton even attended. Very important event in Nutley history as well. And my question is whether there could be any talks about perhaps turning over something as small as a quarter acre to the town of Nutley to put an Annie Oakley park there, a gazebo there which would almost mimic the shape of the training pavilion where the circus took place. It would be a wonderful extension of our park system, a very small plot of land, and so it's just something I'd like to put out there, and maybe I'd follow up with the commissioners to talk with you guys about.
John, you could just provide that information to us, and we'll communicate it, and you never know. Let's see what can happen.
Excellent. Thanks.
Hello, Nicholas Casarelli, resident of Nutley for all 18 years that I'm alive and student of Seton Hall. I'll ask the question for the nice lady back there. What will the tuition be for the medical school?
I'm passing this one to my colleague.
As Bob explained earlier, we're subject to accreditation by the LCME, and so tuition will be set in an amount that's responsible both for funding of the medical school, but also in a way that doctors are not excessive amounts of debt and thereby impinging stage, particularly before you've been accredited through accreditation. Can't really talk any more specifically. Yeah, there of course will be use of financial aid and scholarships as part of that process.
And quickly to add to that.
Hi there, my name is Christina Curiesis, and I've been a 13-year resident of Nutley. And you mentioned not having student housing as far as dormitories, and mostly they're commuters. Are you going to reach out to New Jersey Transit or to CAMP and try to get more transportation in this area? Maybe even bring the train back?
You don't have to say how many years you lived in Nutley.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was following everybody else.
It seems to be the pattern all of a sudden, but anyway. We have all had numerous discussions with New Jersey Transit. First on trying to activate the train line, which is going to be a problem because it doesn't end anywhere. It's a freight line. So that's pretty much been a dead end all the way around. New Jersey Transit has been definitely involved in discussions with us about park and ride, transportation to and from the site, how to get buses there to New York City because they want to integrate New York City into this also. So there has been many, many discussions about that. Nothing's been finalized, but it is definitely on the table.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Patrick Lavero, I'm a little confused. Who owns the property where Nutley is on?
Hoffman LaRoche.
Now, these people that want to buy Seton Hall and Hackensack, they're going to lease it from Hoffman LaRoche?
The way it is right now, Pat, because
Right.
things can change and we don't know for sure. Hackensack and Seton Hall are going to sign a lease with Hoffman LaRoche.
They're gonna-
When Hoffman LaRoche sells the property to the developer, they will assign that lease to the developer, and the developer will then own the property.
Nutley will never own that
Nutley
property.
doesn't own it now and does not plan on owning the property, no.
That's what I want to know.
But it's within the Nutley border.
If we buy the property, then we're in a hole.
Correct.
All right, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Landry, one more question? One more would be good.
Transfer property or to lease property, the DEP has to release a NFA regarding the environmental cleanup. Do you have the NFA? No further action.
These gentlemen are not privy to that part of it. That's Hoffman LaRoche's responsibility and the potential owner. They are just tenants in the property that's going to constitute the medical school.
Okay, great. Well, we'll leave the environmental thing alone. Repeatedly, there's been mention of the potential redeveloper, the developer, that you guys have met with the developer as part of being the anchor for the site. When will this potential redeveloper be named, and can you name them now?
No, but soon.
No.
You have to understand this.
It was a yes or no.
Yeah, I know.
So
I always give you yes or no's now because that's what you want.
All right, so the answer is no. Thanks.
The answer is no. But,
Thank you.
But there have been a lot of discussions, and it's It's a lot of moving parts, and it's very complicated and very confidential until the deals are actually done. So,
Okay, so
we expect soon to be able to present something to the public, and by then you will know.
Okay, soon is like, because there was a statement that was made, I think I actually wrote it down. It was in the paper. It was in 2014, Alan. It was actually your statement. And, yeah, imagine that. And it said that
Can't wait to hear what
it was a letter from Ming Wu to the mayors of Nutley and Clifton from Perkins Eastman's company. Remember the one that came up with the 3 schemes? What is the status of that, by the way? The Perkins Eastman schemes?
Perkins Eastman scenario was a study funded by Roche to kind of get some ideas of what could go on the property, what would work for redevelopment. There's no agreement with them. They're not part of the redevelopment process. But we
Okay.
have been able to gain information, and it was helpful in kind of formulating the questions that needed to be answered, not only
Okay.
by these gentlemen, but also by the potential developer.
And I do want to
But they are not involved anymore.
I do want to clarify, to be sure, that Nutley did pay $150,000 and Clifton did pay $150,000 because $299,000 was paid by the 2 towns, correct?
But Roche funded that study. They reimbursed us.
They reimbursed us?
For every dollar of
Great
it.
news, great
Yes,
news.
thank
Okay.
you.
It actually says, this one was from Perkins Eastman, and it says the redevelopment process by the redeveloper is expected to begin in 2015. So that is off the table right now.
We're still in 2015.
Yeah. Begin in 2015, okay?
You never know. Let's be
You
we're
never
hopeful.
know.
We're hopeful.
We're hopeful that redevelopment outside of the hospital will start in 2015. And
don't
we're
forget-
hopeful that soon we will know the name of
Penny,
this.
don't forget, there are 3 buildings besides the building that they're
Oh, I
going to
know.
occupy that are ready to be occupied.
Okay.
The one advantage that Nutley has is the buildings are ready to go, so tenants can move in much quicker than having to construct new buildings on the site. So that's an
Perfect.
advantage that we have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Dr. Scarpelli? I'm going to turn over to the commissioners if they want to make any... you want a question?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Joe Scarpelli, I'm the Commissioner of Public Works. Very excited personally about this and the economic drivers. And when we were talking about the economic impacts, Mr. Garrett kind of slipped and he said the academic impacts. And kind of got my mind going. I was always sitting here. What can we do to tap into that potential? We're going to have a state-of-the-art medical facility here, a medical school. How can we tap into that to our students? Either through a STEM academy or enrichment programs, something that will help our students here in Nutley.
Absolutely. I mean, we want to be partners with you, with your students. We right now at Hackensack have a lot of programs where we have. I know even in the Children's Hospital we have a summer scholar program. We have a lot of outreaches to communities, and we would love to partner with you. I don't know, Jeff, would you want to add anything to that? I mean, because there's a lot that we're now in terms of outreach. So the folks from Seton Hall and Hackensack really need to talk about that and see what your needs are in terms of your students, and really expose them to what's going to be a historic medical school right in their town. So, and we'd love to get people interested in pre-med, in sciences, in math. I mean, those are things that we can hopefully partner with all of you on.
I mean, I think it's going to be true. Bergen County Academies now, programs, and we're going to be putting in what's probably roughly a 40,000 simulation lab that EMTs will likely have an opportunity to train there and part of this and interact across all the schools. So, I mean, we've already, our minds are really working about how we can engage the community, both of Nutley and Clifton. I think there'll be tremendous opportunities.
Claire Rezempelich, resident Nutley for 15 years, 150 Ridge Road. What kind of public relations work is being done right now to recruit the class of 2017?
CME of doing anything to do any recruiting until you achieve accreditation. And not do anything with students until we get that initial accreditation. We are, by the way, listed, and you can look on the website of the LCME, medical education, as an applicant school. So we've already taken the initial steps towards accreditation.
Okay, before we conclude, I just want to give the commissioners each an opportunity to either ask a question or make a statement. Oh, of course. Just don't forget how many years you have to put that there.
Why? My name is Tom Evans. I'm a commissioner in town. And regardless, Alan, I've been here for 60 years. So since I heard 56, I had to be 60. I have a simple question. Dan, we've been talking about the medical school. We've been talking about the opportunity, the brand. It's a very exciting opportunity for us, and when you think about the brand aspects. But you mentioned in your presentation a couple comments that just triggered for me a question that I think I would like an answer to. The two buildings that we're looking at to house the medical school initially, right? Some almost 500,000 square feet, designed as a single-tenant building, as I think you had said. So if the medical school doesn't go there, what was the interest in the market for a building like that?
Honestly, very little. Very little.
I didn't mean it as a leading question. I just better understanding, since you actually do a lot of marketing and promoting. I think one of the reason why I was asking is that as commissioners we have to make some very important decisions. But one of those decisions says so if I'm looking at A and A looks pretty good, what would B look like? And so this is 13 acres in the heart of the campus. And so just if you can just expand on that a little bit.
Sure. It's a great question. Honestly, the building is so large, and so it's not easy to operate either. It's all, if you know the mechanical systems of a laboratory building, it's a lot of what they call once through air. So there's a lot of utility infrastructure that needs to support those buildings. They're expensive to operate. They're not easy to divide or make into a multi-tenanted situation that meets codes. So really the vision or the future of that building was not great. As you know, Hoffman Roche has demolished a number of buildings on the campus. It'd be a shame for that building to be demolished just because of the quality of the building and the way it was constructed. So there's not any companies, or very few companies, that are looking to lease or acquire a block of space of 450 to 500,000 square feet of laboratory space. Most of what the company's doing now, as I mentioned before, is they're kind of decentralizing their discovery and innovation in different areas of the country where they have access to different talent and they have access to different collaborative relationships and M&A activities. That's why you see all these companies are acquiring one another. It's almost as if their research pipeline is more of an M&A activity than it is just this sort of central, behind the gates, real estate function. So the question really is, if you ask me as a professional opinion, that building could sit for many, many years, just like the Lucent Homedale facility and the Merck Union facility, where these properties are being demolished and redeveloped. And I think this is really a perfect solution in my mind to this building. It's a great use. It's a great sort of community use as well. And it's a perfect economic driver to start the redevelopment of this major campus.
I want to also recognize Ralph here. Thank you, Assemblyman, for coming. Alan, you have one more question? Yeah.
Actually, I just want to ask the question I asked before. What is needed of us now? I heard hints about subdividing what is now one big 100-plus acre lot. So I assume now we're going to subdivide 13 acres of it off?
Let me get details on that, because there's nothing wrong. A subdivision application has been submitted to subdivide just the part for the medical school into 4 separate lots on the Nutley side. Part of it will shares with Clifton, 2 lots in Clifton, 4 lots in Nutley, from Building 123 all the way to Kingsland Avenue. If that subdivision is approved, part of it will include buildings 123, 123A, and other sections will be for potential future growth on the site. But right now, the subdivision application is to segregate that section, that 11 acres that's in Nutley, into separate subdivided lots so they can be treated separately. And ultimately, there'll be a zone of the zone, ultimately, if the medical school is going to go forward. It's because a certain spot they want to reserve for open space on the campus to maintain a campus atmosphere, and the other is for potential growth of other buildings, perhaps subdivide into four lots. Or that's the plan.
Comment and a question. It's something you mentioned that triggered this in my mind. People don't understand that the biggest user of power at Roche was research, not manufacturing. And when you mention the once through air, you people have to understand that the air is not recirculated. So in winter, the air has to be constantly heated because it's always new air coming in, and in summer it has to be constantly cooled. So it's a tremendous user of power. But I'm wondering what the plan is with the cogeneration plant, because the 123 must be tied into that, and the cogeneration plant was designed to generate enough electricity for the site. I have always wondered what is going to be done with that, if there's going to be some shared use, or if someone like Public Service is going to take it over.
Right now, you're right, all the buildings on the site are connected to the cogeneration plant. That's going to have to be a design issue going forward as to how that's going to work. It's one of the advantages of the site, really, that makes it attractive to these type of tenants. So there's no real answer to your question. The engineers are going to figure that out, Tony.
Yeah,
if I had an answer, I'd give it to you.
It's good because cogeneration plant, it runs on 2 modified jet engines, so it uses gas, which right now is the cheapest, almost the cheapest form of energy you could use. So it would seem to me that that's something you should certainly explore, because otherwise you're going to have a tremendous electric bill. And this way, with a shared facility like that, you could really save a lot of money. Just adding that in. So.
Commissioner Rogers?
Let me just ask them. First of all, thank you for your presentation tonight. I'm going to ask you to think about something. I don't know if this is possible, but it's something that I would really like you to think about. You talked about jobs. You talked about the need for people with skill sets, with talents. We have a lot of people in Nutley with skill sets and talents who are unemployed. So I'd ask that if it's possible that you consider that when these jobs are available, that you give our residents priority to get these jobs. This will help in many ways. Obviously, they live here. They'll pour the money back into the economy, the local economy here. They'll be able to support their families, and it'll help us all around. So I would ask you to think about that, and I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, we will give that not only serious thought, but we'll take action on that. And I can tell you that Hackensack's history is, we obviously our flagship is in the city of Hackensack. We're the biggest employer in the city of Hackensack. We give folks in Hackensack priority. Some of our other hospitals and the municipalities that they're in, they also give priority to those municipalities, whether it's Westwood for Pascack Valley Hospital or it's Montclair for Mountainside Hospital. So absolutely, it's part of our philosophy, and with our partner Seton Hall, we'll give that some real significant consideration. Thank you.
So the commissioners are going to resume their seats. I just want to thank everybody for their attention to the presentations and their attention to our guests. And don't future. Thank you.
Guys,
Before everybody gets up and leaves, we just have a couple comments that we want to address before everybody runs out of here. This is the first comment that I would like to say. I would like to say thank you so much for all of you coming. It's really an honor and privilege to be sitting on the same stage and to be part of history tonight. I think, moving forward, it really is a historic time in Nutley. The one thing I want to say, and then I'll pass it over to the commissioners, all the commissioners have worked unbelievably hard on this. Also, when we first started to talk to Perkmans and Eastman, and also the broker in the deal, I have to tell you, it was really doom and gloom for Nutley. I left some of these meetings saying maybe it's even time for me to get out of here, because when Perkmans and Eastman first talked, their fill-in rate was 25 years from the time Roche exited. So to be able to do something and partner with two institutions like Hackensack and Seton Hall is really saying something, and I might add, in that type of time frame that we're able to get this done. So again, I just want the general public to know this is a team effort. We need your help too to get this done. I want to congratulate everyone for coming to more public involvement. I want to thank everybody for acting as professionals, and ladies and gentlemen tonight. I've been at some of these meetings or saw some televised where there was chairs flying at these things and things like that, but I got to say, it's probably my proudest moment to be the mayor of Nutley, to see how Nutley people act and to have Hackensack and Seton Hall up on the same stage. Commissioners?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'm going to echo some of the remarks that my colleagues have already made. First of all, I'd like to thank our representatives from Hackensack and Seton Hall for being with us this evening and giving us this presentation so our people can see exactly what your vision is. If I can draw a comparison, the siting of this medical school is like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Well, in order for us to repurpose that Roche site, we need this medical school, because this medical school will then draw all the other smaller pharma companies and some larger companies that may want to site on this Roche property. Mayor Petrocco and I were appointed by this Board of Commissioners as the representatives to the Joint Repurposing Committee, and we've been meeting with Roche, with Hackensack, with Seton Hall, with the Realtor for the last 2.5 years to try and get to where we are. The Perkins-Eastman study, all right, while it was a vision or several visions in the form of 3 schemes, identified what the possibilities could be. I have to let you know, though, during the course of that entire exercise, the mayor's thrust was always not only the financial impact on the community, but also the physical impact on the community and how we integrate this medical school into the entire township. Now, Nutley never was, and hopefully someday will be, a college town. As you all know, this medical school will front Nichols Park. There has been discussion about integrating the front of that medical building with the park and possibly the creation of walkways and bike paths right down to Franklin Avenue, which will be a true integration, and we can get the benefit of not only the medical professionals and the students, but we can add another component to our community. The educational opportunities, not only for our students, but for the students in the surrounding communities, is tremendous. All right, the reputations of these 2 institutions is impeccable, and the fact that they want to come to Nutley when there are so many other places they can be is really a testament to the vision and the foresight that they have. And I'd just like to thank everyone here tonight for having that vision and for coming here in Nutley.
Commissioner Evans.
Bingo. So a couple things. First off, I want to, for myself, be clear categorically that the best option for us moving forward is to have that medical school there. There isn't a choice in my mind. The options that exist for waiting to identify a potential buyer, and as you heard, a building that's for a single tenant, 500,000 square feet in the center of the campus, has very little demand, very little interest. Hoffman LaRoche has demonstrated, just as many corporations have, is that they don't want to carry that infrastructure, so they'll demolish that building. That further hurts the township, that hurts us as taxpayers, which all of the commissioners are absolutely aligned on, is that we need to come to a solution that fully represents the maximum value that we can get from a tax standpoint, but also add other things to it. Adds to our quality of life, adds to the importance of being a Nutleyite, creates job opportunities for us. And so when you look at this, it starts to bring all of those into play. Recognizing that the announcement for Roche was a dramatic one because it immediately idled 120 plus acres of property, and Roche could easily have gone to a tax court and simply says it's idle, we're shutting it down, we want to walk away from this property, thank you very much, we're out of here. And that's happened in other towns. That didn't happen here. Roche has been consistently committed to cleaning up the property, identifying the highest and best use buyer for the property. And we've been fortunate in that, recognizing that whatever we're talking about, while it's not 25 years, it's not a week. We're still talking about a number of years before the conversion of this property is completed. So when you take it from Roche to its as converted basis, we need to be able to manage ourselves through that. And we've been successful in that. With the help of the state, we've been able to adjust the value of that property, but we've been able to supplement that with aid, which this year is about $5.5 million, which is so important because what it has enabled the JRC to do, has enabled the commissioners to do, is to take a little bit of a longer-term view to say this is the right decision versus what's the fastest, quickest way I can convert that to something else. Because we know that while that would be a short-term solution, that would not be a long-term recommended action. So with the putting of all the pieces together, with everyone working hard, and I go back 2.5 to 3 years with you guys on this, and the things that we've been doing, is it's always been with that single focus. How do we continue to build the brand of Nutley, the meaning to be a Nutleyite, maximize the potential revenue with the absolute clarity that Roche will not be here in the future. Right? It's gone. And so our job is to maximize that value opportunity and on the things that we were all stating. So we're working down that path. The question was asked earlier, is it taxable? Yes, it is. Right now it is. And we know as well, and just full disclosure, it's not subject to full taxation. So there is a portion of tax that will be paid, but not full taxation. And those are the negotiations that the commissioners are in the middle of, and I'm in the middle of, to make sure that we maximize the value of what that tax is. But please just understand that this is the key to unlocking the development of the entire site and maximizing that value.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Scarpelli? Thank you, Mayor. I first want to thank our residents for coming out tonight and showing their interest. This is a big project that we've been waiting for a long time. You had very insightful questions. I'd like to thank Hackensack and Seton Hall for coming out and giving a great presentation. We look forward to partnering with you. We look forward to the economic engine that this is going to create and the academics that we hope we can tap into. And I'm very excited that this is the first step in what's going to be a challenging process. As Commissioner Evans said, there's more steps to come, but this is step one. And we are very excited. I'm very excited about moving forward on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rogers.
When Roche told us they were leaving, we took a negative, and obviously the negative was that they were leaving, and we turned it into a positive, turned it into an opportunity to revitalize this community, an opportunity that would bring to us the job growth that's needed, an opportunity that would help develop some of the best schools in the state of New Jersey. And yes, we've been talking with school board members. You got a real dedicated school board in this community, and they've been collaborating with us because there are a lot of questions about student population and taxes, etc. But one thing I know that we were all thinking about was the future, and thinking about not only those of us who live here today, but what about our children? What about our grandchildren? Nutley is a family town. Not too many people leave this community. They grow up and they stay here. That's a good thing for a community. It's been a great, great thing for Nutley. You had the Nutley historian here tonight. You have people who have been here for many years with knowledge and commitment and dedication to this town. We want to keep that. Not too many communities have the volunteers that step up to the plate when someone is in need. You get one citizen of this town who's in need and hundreds rally behind them. You don't get that everywhere. So that's the type of character that we want to keep and maintain. And we want to pass that on. We really want to pass that on to our children and grandchildren. That's what's exciting about this venture that we're moving forward on. It's a journey. It's a tough journey. A lot of people have a lot of anxiety over this, but I could tell you this Board of Commissioners, I'm the new guy on the block here. I've never seen a group of dedicated men and women as I have here, working night and day. And what a great group of citizens we have in town. You're here tonight. We wondered, didn't we? We wondered. Well, you're here tonight. So I thank you, and we're in good hands. So have patience and just think about the kids. We're going to be doing it for them as well as for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. And just in closing, first I would like to just recognize and thank Assemblyperson Ralph Caputo. He's been taking the lead at Roche, and he's always there for us. He's our representative in Nutley. Ralph, thank you so much for always being there for us. I'd just like to just touch on a 2-second thing real quick that Commissioner Rogers started to touch on. I would really like to say that being the mayor here in Nutley and working with the Board of Commissioners has really been a privilege. Some people say that we might have egos at times, but I have to tell you, when this Roche property came up, we really were a great team, and I just want to thank all of you for being that way to take the Nutley residents first, and really it was a team effort from all of us. Everybody had their parts. I just like to thank Commissioner Tucci. Him and I did go to Roche with the Joint Repurposing Committee, and I have to tell you, Mauro, it was a pleasure working with you. I would want no one other than you by my side for that, because Mauro has governmental experience that I didn't necessarily have at the time, and I just want to thank you for taking the lead. Commissioner Evans did so much with the state aid. Tom, I want to thank you for that. All the commissioners had their roles in this, and it's really been a team effort, and I really think that we are going to be part of history in Nutley, and hopefully 50, 100 years from now, we could be known as the board and the residents that made the right choices for this town, and that our grandchildren could prosper from it. Now, the last statement I have is for Hackensack and Seton Hall. One thing I could tell you is Nutley people don't forget anything. Believe me, they hold my feet to the fire all the time. We are asking, as Commissioner Rogers said, when these jobs come up, we would really appreciate it if Nutley residents would get a crack at it. So I would like to thank everyone for coming. If we were going to take a small break, so if everybody doesn't want to stay for the rest of our meeting, you could feel free to leave at this time. Thank you for coming.